right, hello everyone. Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another day of awesome FileMaker training at fmtrain.tv. Before we get going, what I am going to do is I'm going to attempt to show my screen, share my screen. You go to fmtrain.tv, you can see the upcoming broadcast schedule right here by pressing the live button or right here. You can see that. That's pretty great. Today is going to be basically not a step-by-step on how to set up server. We have a 5-hour video that we just refreshed and re-updated and posted on how to do an Amazon server step-by-step. About 5 hours of training, very intensive training. People are like, oh, I could do it just as good as you. And then they get stuck. They say, watch the 5 hours of video. They watch 5 hours, and then they come back and say, Richard, you do it for us. So, but yeah, if you have our training, you can get the instructions on how to build your own AWS, FileMaker Windows, and I guess Linux server installs. But today is tips for security. Monday for beginners. Tuesday and Wednesday next week, monkey spread is back. If you like a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich with a little monkey spread layered in there, it's good stuff. It solves all sorts of important FileMaker limitations that are in the FileMaker platform. It won product of the year many times, and it's super, super cheap. Welcome to Christian Schmidt and the Monkey Bread product. It's pretty awesome. So that's next week. Then we have starting 2 days of connecting the dots with Nick. If you want to support the channel, you appreciate what we do, we highly recommend that you check out our all our video courses we have right here. However, we have so many courses, we just don't sell them individually anymore. So you have to check out one of our bundles. We've sold a lot of these. This is the basic bundle. It's complete, comes with everything you need for a year. For a little bit more, you can get a 2-year deal. So there's a 2-year deal you can get if you're interested in that. Email us at support@RC Consulting. We'll give you the link, or maybe Margaret can find the link here and post it so you can get the 2-year deal on that. If you want only just a limited part of what we're doing, then you get the video only for just our complete courses. Does not include the certification training. A lot of people like the certification training. No one has come to me and said the certification training didn't help them. Today's one of those days that you can ignore it at your own peril. Right? Your own peril, your own danger to your, because it's kind of a continued conversation a little bit about the ransomware stuff. This is how to hide your stuff and protect it from being attacked. Part of this was that we went back and rewatched the ransomware videos that were done by Heidi Porter, Chris Moyer, Wim DeCourt, Soliant, and the goal was
those are really good.
Really good, yeah. Jacob had actually, of all things, Jacob hadn't seen them and watched them. Well, those are really great. So, but Jacob brought some ideas, like, well, that spawned some other security ideas he had. So we want to dive into that. That's what today is. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen.
All right. So so basically we're going to cover a little bit about kind of FileMaker security basics today. And this is not like, you all are probably familiar with things like privilege sets and setting up that kind of user access. So I'm going to mention that and then move on. There is one thing, however, with user logins and stuff like that where you can do that's a huge security improvement. And it's not a security improvement insofar as one is better than the other, but it gives you additional options. So for example, in RCC is rolling this out for user authentication. You can set up something like Azure AD and plug that into your FileMaker server. That's, okay, cool. It changes to a username or an email and a password login. That's cool, but not that interesting. But what that allows you to do is to have those users have a phone app that's required for them to log in, one of those security keys or text message codes or stuff like that.
The two-factor authentication is what you're saying.
Yep. Yeah, correct. And that's like the big win there. I think a lot of what we're going to cover today is like, it isn't so much you should try and do all of these things. It's if you're not doing if you're doing some of these things, awesome, pick another couple. If you're doing none of these things, great, pick one. Start somewhere, because the big takeaway from a lot of the security stuff is what eats people alive. What is the reason that people get malware, their servers get hacked into, like all these kinds of problems. It's the basics. It's not I don't say not the NSA, but say a foreign government's version of the NSA. They're trying to get into your server. For most of our clients, for most people that are using FileMaker, maybe for a really big company that might be a concern because they're perhaps in a national security context of some kind. But for the most part, you're trying to keep common criminals out, essentially. And they have a business model, and if you merely make it too difficult for them to get in, they're basically fundamentally lazy in certain ways, and if they run into too many problems, they'll give up. And so if you can, through doing basics, give them too many problems, they'll give up. Right, again, if it's a nation state person who's being paid 9 to 5 to get into your server, you get different problems, basically. So and that's the, if you take away one thing, what I've just said is the big part, which is any of the things that we're going to talk about today. If you're doing some of them, wonderful, pick another one and implement that. If you're doing none of them, cool, pick one thing I say and say, I'm going to implement that over the next month or the next 3 months or however long it takes you to do it. Just start somewhere. The other one that is still within FileMaker, again, we're going to mostly talk about outside like server, operating system, network stuff today, but I want to mention these at the start just so we can get them out of the way. The other is encryption at rest. That is, I think Richard doesn't like it because it's another thing and another really great way to shoot yourself in the foot if you lose the password. However, it also means if you encrypt your databases, the live databases are encrypted, as are all of the backups. And so that is wonderful because it means if somebody breaks into your server, they get nothing. They might destroy your server. They might destroy all your data. They might, they might encrypt it a second time, actually.
Right. Ransomware, they just lock the whole machine out, but they're not going to be able to read your data.
Correct. Yeah. And so if you are in an interesting industry, if you have regulatory reporting requirements, if you what's another one people come
medical,
up?
Medical HIPAA.
Medical HIPAA, stuff like that. Yeah. Also, a lot of companies are beginning to get cyber insurance, which is basically kind of breach coverage, sort of. They will give you big, long checklists of stuff that you're going to do. Half the stuff we'll talk about today is probably on the checklist. So actually, more than half, honestly, because
right, it's most of it, right?
Yeah, one of our clients was talking about the stuff that they want them to do, and I was like, oh, that's a good list. It's not, they're not, it's like, I know it's insurance, but like they want to make it so that there's a shared responsibility between you and the insurance company, so that they're not just covering your butt that's hanging out in the wind. They want you to be taking it seriously, so that if extra exciting circumstances happen and you do get hacked, they're covering a truly exceptional case, not you're just baseline, you're not doing anything. So anyway, so those things out of the way. The first thing actually is basics are basics. Apply updates to the operating system, apply updates to FileMaker, apply them on a regular basis. If you aren't in an interesting industry, you can decide what that means. Windows updates come out monthly on a schedule, I think, at this point, unless there's something exceptional going on. I don't know what schedule Apple puts them out on these days, but it seems to be getting more often over time, not less. So they may be aiming towards monthly. I wouldn't apply updates less than once every 6 months. If you're doing it every year, it's not often enough.
I would say
quarterly is usually, for our clients, they don't want to pay us to take their server down every month, stuff like that. Quarterly is a good balance. Just minimizing disruption, maximizing keeping up with stuff. So, and then if you're paying attention to what's being updated, which is frankly its own entire job at this point, if you do something like that or keep an eye on stuff, you could, particular months say, oh, that affects us. Let's apply that one, even though it's out of schedule, stuff like that. That's a big one. The second one is you want to apply the updates to FileMaker, actually. And I know frankly, historically, our policy has been, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I, strictly speaking, still agree with that, in fact. But it's with how Claris is developing the software these days, there's a little more nuanced conversation as to what broke and fixing mean, frankly. And so, for example, right now, I can only do so many things myself, but I'm generally encouraging people, especially if you do your own stunts and you do your own FileMaker updates, get up to 19.4. There's two reasons for it. One is, in our experience so far, it is a brick. It's awesome. It is rock stable. Also, if you have an extremely heavily web direct solution, there are some known bugs in it. So, check stuff, test it first, I guess, if you can. But in general, if you're not an amazingly heavy WebDirect user, or like the entire app isn't WebDirect or something, whatever, you're mostly in Pro and Go and stuff like that, or the WebDirect part's kind of light, don't worry about it. Just go. They'll fix whatever issues are coming up. That's the other part, which is, if you find bugs, cool, you're updating the next version.
Okay, so can I just add a caveat here, because I'm looking at the tea leaves, what's coming down the pipe, and so if you want to know whether you should jump to the next major release, so the way it works right now, it used to be like there was FileMaker 9, then 10, and 11, and 12, and 13, and 14, and 15. I've got all the way to 19. And Claris decided that 20 should be something special, except they haven't built the special thing yet, right? Kind of the problem. And so what ends up happening is that so we have 19.1 and 19.2 and 19.3 and 19.4. Then there's 19.5, more or less. That's kind of in testing, I suppose. And then eventually probably 19.6 and 19.7, who knows? And so those are like whole versions of FileMaker, and you should consider them like whole releases. And so, like, I think some of these releases we like, they're good, just go for it. And some of them are like, let's wait and see. So, Jacob, you're reading Margaret's comments here. I'm literally reading them.
That's why I'm being very specific with jumping everybody to 19.4, because that's the current shipping release.
And we're not giving you a blank check from this recording. I don't want to be clear. If a new version comes out, please consult with us in advance of that, right?
Yep.
Because there's some new amazing stunts and tricks with the next one, but sufficiently dangerous that it's like a guy racing a motorcycle with no helmet. We have concerns. So, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff coming in. We'll just call it the next version. Generally, all of it looks awesome. It's all over the place. There's many different features. There's many different maintenances, bugs fixed. The whole gamut. Also, all of those things are potential locations of breakage in your application. And so that's why I say for 19.4, if you aren't affected by any of the couple little web direct issues or whatever, they don't affect most people. It's specific situations you need to test and find out. But if you're not affected by them, I highly recommend it. It is really stable. Also, importantly, if you are on previous versions, there is a security vulnerability in previous versions of FileMaker right now that was patched by Claris, and they backported to 19.3, I think, but that's it. And so I'm generally encouraging people to go to 19.4 right now. If you're on 18, please update. That product went out of support 8 months ago. That may be surprising to you, but yeah. So,
well, because really, if we were on a consistent naming convention right now, there was FileMaker 19, then 19.1 would be FileMaker 20, and then it'd be 19.2 would be FileMaker 21, and then 19.3 would be 22. 19.4, we'd be on FileMaker 23 right now. And you're like, so to calibrate this to dog understanding for what we've been trained, we're on FileMaker 23 and you're on FileMaker 18. Yo, dog, what are you thinking? There you go.
Yeah.
So how's that for you? Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, and so that's the other previous, I'll call it landing spot, reasonable version of FileMaker to sit on was 19.2. We have a chunk of customers on that. They're doing great. I'm going to gently encourage them to go to 19.4 at some point here. But it's no rush. But if you're on 18, frankly, you should just go anyway because it's free performance. But we're trying to talk about security today, so
yeah.
So that's basics or stuff like that. Getting a little further out from the because you want to stay on the machine or go to the network. What do you think, Richard?
On the machine, if we're talking about FileMaker Server.
Yeah. Okay. So because there's stuff that's on the machine that's not FileMaker Server, but it will, it's log monitoring and metrics collection and stuff like that. So again, you may not do any of these things, but they're things to put on the list to think about to do eventually, or something like that. So no, let's start with backups. Actually, sorry, let's stick within. We'll go out in concentric circles. It'll be like a big onion. So FileMaker Server, we got operating system updates. That's your general environment. You got FileMaker Server updates. That's your software platform that you're running. Within that, even we can do one step and say backups. I know it's what I'll talk about is off of FileMaker or whatever, but it's FileMaker related directly. So if you have backups, great. You should make sure that you have hourly backups, potentially also weekly backups if a recovery situation like that applies to your business, where you might have to go back and fetch something that somebody deleted a while back or something like that. It's not uncommon, but some businesses either just don't care, or it doesn't happen to them, or whatever. With those backups, you want to have redundant backups. You want to make sure that there are backups potentially across different providers. So like we set up a lot of customers on Amazon. A chunk of those customers also have a backup that goes out to Dropbox or goes to OneDrive or whatever, anything similar. I actually can. So I used to say any similar one will work. I have found recently that is not strictly speaking true. Box.net has file size limitations, like a per file limit, per file number of gigabytes that it can be. And if your data set is not even that large, you'll exceed it and it will not sync your file. And so we learned that with a client actually last week. Richard, we'll talk about that after. You're probably learning that right now. So just be careful, basically. But in general, you want a redundant backup of some kind. So if you're in the cloud, right, put it on a different provider of some kind. Second, if you're on site, same thing. If you can put backups across multiple hard drives, awesome. If you can add another copy that goes out every day, you have a local storage system like a Synology or something like that, you could pop a copy over to that thing once a day. Perfect. If you want to additionally do, either the Synology goes off-site, probably doesn't go to Dropbox, but maybe something else, that's a great idea. You could do the same thing with the FileMaker Server if you wanted to go to the Synology, but also the FileMaker Server into Dropbox or something, just for redundancy purposes. That's what it is. Any backup that works, that exists when you have a problem, means that you still have a business. It's very simple.
Okay. I'm going to, we did have a question here. So Margaret's typing. So I'm watching over here playing air traffic control, watching what's being said. Alpha Coburn 73 said, I hear Azure, I'm just going to read what he says, and I'll let you reply to this, Jacob. I hear Azure AD is almost impossible per Stephen Blackwell. Trying to implement Azure and AWS next week. Any tips?
No, Azure AD is the easiest of them. My tip actually is to make sure you're on the latest version of FileMaker Server. Not anything related to what I just said, actually. Claris made huge improvements to OAuth 2 integrations in the latest version of FileMaker Server. We're implementing it at RCC. I need to find so there's a document on Claris's website that tells you, right, go in, log here, go this, add an app, blah, blah, blah. All the little steps. Here's the little keys and the IDs and all the stuff that you need to plug into the various locations of FileMaker Server. All of that's good. There's one thing it's missing, and I need to go find that because we discovered it when we were implementing it. There's a configuration change you have to make.
I'm pointing him back to our documentation in those videos. So Claris, it was not just one thing. Claris had a number of
missing steps.
They have about 4 or 5 different documents. So what you have to do is you have to have some guy like Jacob Taylor who can rifle through the mayhem, like Wim Court. This is like a junior version of Court, right?
We made a PDF of that.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm trying to find for people. So file.
Yeah, there's a PDF. Our PDF is theirs with the things added into it.
We fixed it. Yeah, we fixed it. Oh, here it is. So here's a day 2. So it just came up with the live stream. So that's day 2. So I'm going to go. That was November 16th, so right before Thanksgiving. So not everyone comes every day, and if you're not here, guess what? You probably missed some really awesome content. I can't help that, right? I can only present awesome content, then we try to repeat it about every 18 months, right? Because people come back like, I've never heard you talk about Azure before. And I'm like, shh, I spent days on that.
We've done so many of those. And also, if you're not a bundle subscriber, one, you should do that. But two, even if you're not and you don't want to, get the free player. It has all the live streams.
Margaret, awesome. You want to pop the browser and show them how to get the free player as one of the tabs?
Oh yeah, do that.
Let me
take a moment and show them.
Even if you're not going to threaten us with money, which you should definitely do, there's an alternative. You don't get all the courses and all the other cool stuff, but you can get all the live stream content in one place. Easy to find and search. It's a video.
There we go. Okay, so
where do I go to grab it? I don't know myself. Video player. Here we go.
Video player. Yeah, you got it. Works best in FileMaker 19. That's all.
Yeah, listen, whatever we're doing here was specific to 19.2, 19.3, and 19.4. And if you're using anything outside of those, then your mileage may vary, right? So kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So.
How bad is CentOS OS about security?
Not bad at all, because it is downstream of Red Hat. That is where CentOS comes from. Although, in general, if you're still using CentOS for your FileMaker server, you should be updating and moving over to Ubuntu anyway, because you are probably on FMS 19.1, or maybe it's supported 19.2. I apologize, I don't remember. But it ended and then they switched to Ubuntu. I would move to that with the quickness, because you should update your version. There's literally thousands of bug fixes in the product since then.
So what's our next topic after backups and offsite backups?
Yeah, backups, offsite backups, redundant backups, any of that stuff.
What was the one? What'd you call it? The non? Okay,
immutable. Immutable. Yes, not mutable. Mutable is changeable.
Okay, immutable.
Immutable. So you cannot change it. You cannot modify it.
Explain to them that definite, because that exceeds my vocabulary quite a bit. So
it's the standard term, because it means that you can. So the way that you can implement it different ways, but the easy example is because Amazon, and they have S3, which is their giant file store in the cloud thing. It's like a big FTP bucket. You can dump backups into it, and that's awesome. But out of the box anyway, those are mutable. They're changeable. The ransomware could go up and talk to your backup location and encrypt your S3 backups. That would be horrifying, right? For obvious reasons. So, because if that's your backup offsite, whatever, you're just as hosed as you think you are. So if you and it's an option that you can set up at when you create that. It's a bucket is what they call it, but it's the file storage location. You can turn on immutable backups, and it's a couple different features basically that are combined within Amazon. But what it means is you'll upload a backup in there, it'll sit there, and then there's a time period where you can't change it. And so you could have a court order, but it wouldn't matter. You can't. I mean, it's really locked down, Jacob. Yeah, there's a mode for legal retention. Actually, it's part of the same feature set. Right. So if you need to keep logs because you're being sued for something, or you're suing somebody else, whatever, stuff like that. So yes, and those are similar feature sets. They kind of work differently, but for backups that you're trying to armor them against ransomware. What you're trying to do is you're trying to create a safety net where even if the ransomware gets in there and encrypts literally all of it, horrifying day, you have something. You have an offsite that still works. They could encrypt all those Dropbox backups that you had, right? That would all be gone because they're totally available on the system and all that. So there's those sorts of problems, and that solves it. So what it does is you dump a file up into this Amazon location, and then if anything comes through within, and you set the time period at startup, so we'll say 7 days, you can't touch the file. It will actually tell you if you try to touch the file, you'll be totally successful. You can encrypt that backup. You now have 2 backups. One of them was never changed. And then there's the encrypted one, and it's sitting on top of the other one. And so you just pick the unencrypted one. So it'll tell.
the idea, yeah, the idea with this is that if someone tries to get into their system and encrypt it all like a ransomware application, we talked about there in the
It'll be
ransomware.
totally successful, but
Yes, but they cannot the immutable, unscrewable backups. They cannot be tampered with, right, by you or by anyone. So the thing is that someone's trying to get in your computer, pretend they're you. So what they do is, as once you make the backup, Amazon or a similar service would prevent you from then making any changes to those backups for a period of time. So it's like, kind of like one of those time capsules under the building or something, right?
Yeah, very literally, even if you are the like root administrator of the Amazon account, you can go and tell it to like delete one of those files or something, for example, and it will pretend to succeed and not delete it. So another thing on the machine, and this is a FileMaker setting, more logs, turn your logs up. FileMaker Server out of the box keeps 40 megabytes of logs. We turn it up to 100. You could go higher, I guess. You know, it's kind of preference and disk space and things like that. So the thing is the thing about logs is, and I'll talk about another facet of logs in a bit. But the thing about logs is if you're trying to figure out what went haywire on the system, that somebody hacked in, or maybe just a much more mundane problem, you know, something's going funky, you're never going to complain about having too many logs because you can always go back and figure out what happened. Too few is a huge issue. You have no visibility. You can't figure it out. So more is preferable to less in general. Obviously, you turn things up to 11, then maybe you run out of disk space and you have those sorts of issues. But frankly, that's still kind of a capacity issue because at least within FileMaker, when you set, how many logs you want to keep, it's in numbers of megabytes or whatever. So don't set more than you have disk space or make your disk bigger, whichever applies, right? So.
Jeremy, do we have any traction yet? You're looking for the...
Yes, I found the PDF. I'm getting them in the descriptions, and I will drop the bit.ly into Discord.
So, all right, so still on the topic of logs, but a little bit different, right? Turn up your logs. Got it. You want to, if you're, all right, we've got enough logs, start sending the logs somewhere. So if that is just gathering up your FileMaker server logs and putting them into your backups, do that. If you are familiar with, and I don't know how to say it, but SIEM, S-I-E-M, software, which will basically like real-time stream logs and stuff, use that. There's a bunch of different providers out there. You can get some of them to run for free, or if they're usually based on like a small number of logs, which if you only have one FileMaker server, that's a small number of logs. You can fit in the free tier on almost all of them. RCC, it's not an endorsement, it's just one that I played around with. We have Datadog set up on ours because we fit inside their free tier. They have a bunch of competitors. You can look up any of them. And what that that lets you do with a lot of those tools is so those logs go somewhere else. That itself is useful because you can go look at them. The second part of that is if you begin to understand how your FileMaker server behaves, as in people are logging in at 9 a.m., they do this and that and the other thing, somebody leaves for coffee at 10, somebody logs in from Mexico and they're supposed to be on vacation, maybe you can go yell at them and tell them to go back to vacation. But also if they're not supposed to be in Mexico because that's not where they're on vacation, hey, you just figured something out, and that may be concerning, and you may want to talk to that employee or do some kind of disaster response, stuff like that. And with a lot of those tools on where they receive your logs, which is somewhere else on their servers, you can build scanners and fines and similar sorts of things that emit an email that says, hey, dude logged in from Mexico. That's not usually where he comes from. Okay. And you can do all kinds of little stuff like that. There's all kinds of alerts and logs alerting that you can set up with stuff like that. I'm not going to cover what any of that is, but you start with getting the logs somewhere and then later doing something with them. You have to turn them on before you can look at them, that kind of stuff. So, all right, so done with that. Next, if you have any kind of server-side telemetry that you can collect, it's a similar sort of conversation where, how long your backup system takes. You know, oh, there's a scheduled script that runs at 30 after the hour every hour, and it takes 2.5 minutes to complete. Okay, right? You know what, you know, if you are collecting the CPU usage graphs and stuff like that, you'll know what those look like. You'll also, if you look at that occasionally, you'll know what it looks like when it's weird. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong necessarily, but it means you should go look. And going, you know what, something's off. Those kinds of things are how people detect stuff. Rarely is it so obvious as some guy logged in to my server from China on a VPN, right? And I don't have any Chinese clients. We don't have any clients over there, no employees over there, et cetera. Like, there's no reason for that. You keep track of this stuff. You'll know what it's supposed to look like, and you'll have an idea of what it might look like when something's going funky. That is how you can assist catching some of this stuff.
The PDF, we got the PDF for those of you wondering about the Azure setup. It's all in there, so we have that. So Jeremy kept it, which is awesome. So we have logs, log forwarding, log management. What else do we got, Jacob?
Turn on your email notifications on FileMaker Server. That's a setting in the admin console. You will need SMTP server details for that, and write a couple of email addresses to send that information to. Don't only send it to yourself. Send it to you and somebody else at least. If you have literal, like an IT department or alternates inside the company or something like that, every one of those people should be receiving those emails, especially if you only have like one or maybe two FileMaker servers. It's the noise is not going to be too voluminous, and realistically, if you're getting emails often, it's a smell of some kind. You need to go figure out what's up. Why are you receiving the email? Because it may indicate something or it may not. There's a couple of emails that FileMaker Server emits that I ignore, but most of them, actually, not by number but by kind, they're positive signal. They're, oh, that means something. Okay, backup failed. Got it. Like stuff like that. So and so you can that's a good time to go investigate and try and figure out, oh, what's going wrong here. Even if sometimes literally, like, it'll be a performance issue. It's not something scary. There's nobody hacking in, etc. So
cool. Next on our list,
antivirus. So and this will be the controversial one, because Claris historically, basically, if you run into antivirus related issues, tells you to turn it off. And I believe to this day that's still the published advice. I should double check that. Maybe it's changed in the last couple of months, because I think I emailed them and asked about that, because it's really bad advice. Don't turn off your antivirus. I know that they tell you to do that. Do not. If you must, because some antivirus does, not like FileMaker, basically, or it runs into weird issues or finds little byte sequences it thinks are funky, or viruses or whatever, and that'll. Oops, there's a fly. Sorry. And that'll interfere with your server, whatever. So don't do that. You can, for almost any antivirus system, and it's more or less difficult depending on which one you're using, you can exclude certain directories. That is the maximum I would recommend. Don't exclude everything, just the targeted bits. So, like, specifically the live database directory, maybe specifically a backup directory, something like that. Don't go bigger than that. Minimize it as much as you can, because what are you doing? You're turning off the antivirus for certain locations. You want to avoid that generally. You want to maximize your capability of catching weird stuff happening.
Are we running antivirus on our Windows servers?
Absolutely, every single one of them. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what we do. What do we do specifically, and why do we do it? And
it's what I just said. So we leave the default one on, which is Windows servers is Windows Defender. There are others. Some of them are better. One of our clients uses Sophos. I actually don't like it because it's really slow to scan. However, that said and that aside, they have all kinds of toolkits that'll like block and disrupt ransomware and all kinds of neato exploit protection I don't even understand half of it. It sounds really cool. Also, every single additional thing that you turn on there slows down your server. So, you got to be careful turning everything on 11. That can make it very secure, I suppose. Also, may make it very slow. Maybe it'll just neutralize all the performance benefits you got out of 19. All right, we're back to 18 performance, but we have amazing antivirus protection. Okay, for certain businesses, they're like, "Yep, we're doing it. Done." So,
when you run Windows Defender, do you carve out directory
yes.
Yeah,
literally, specifically the live database directory and the backups. And I'm specific
what about
about each one.
caches that FileMaker creates cache folder?
No.
You don't do
Nope,
that one?
I don't exclude it. Nope.
Okay, well, if we're not having, listen, we run a lot of servers. If we're not seeing a problem, then it's not a problem. So what Jacob just said, I was like a little skeptical, like, should he do that cache?
Yeah, no, and when I got hired, the advice, and again, Claris's advice is to literally turn off antivirus. And yeah, in a very literal sense, if you have nothing hooking any of the files, no scanning any of the stuff going on ever, it's a higher performance situation. That's true. Yep, antivirus is not free. That is an accurate statement. However, if you do not have it, there's nothing. You could have little 1997 exploits getting on. If somebody gets in somehow and puts that stuff on there, sophisticated ransomware. It doesn't even need to be a conversation. You could have something from 20 years ago affecting you, because there's nothing to catch it. You have no safety net. So you want to have something. If you have a preference on your antivirus, great. Use it. If you don't, every version of Windows comes with Defender. I recommend actually later versions of Windows because they have the software has, I'll say it, more sane defaults. For example, in Server 2016's Defender, you have to go in and enable the cloud. Their cloud updates. They download new virus signatures every so often or whatever. You had to go enable that in 2016. 2019, there's no option. I'm sure there's an off button.
Yeah,
it just does it. Yeah,
should just do it. Well, I mean, how else are you going to get updates? I mean, you're going to have a pigeon. I mean, that's what
we in our server setup documentation, we have a step for Server 2016 that's Open Defender, and the first thing that you do the first time you open Defender is it asks, would you please allow me to do cloud virus definition updates? And it's yes, and then you just close Defender, and that's the end of the step. And we did that on every 2016 server. So that's why I say 2019 is better insofar as that's on. It's just on by default. So
all right, moving along. Next.
Let's see, what else do we have? So so kind of further out from the system, we'll call it firewalling, but it's like network stuff generally. So most people think of incoming firewalls for sure, right? Because you've got to go poke the hole for FileMaker Server, the data port 5003 at least, and also probably the couple of web ports 80 or 443. If you do an SSL certificate, you can almost after that anyway, you can get away with not opening 80. Just that's a funny tip I figured out. It's 80 is not strictly speaking necessary. Again, assuming you have an SSL certificate, so you could get away with 2 ports, which is awesome. But whatever, you're going to have to open those up, especially in Windows. That is done automatically as part of the installer on Ubuntu. If you watch the little log output, it'll tell you, hey, I'm turning on the firewall. Hey, I'm opening FileMaker Server port 5003. Hey, I'm doing 80. Hey, I'm doing, this kind of stuff. So there's that. But those are incoming firewalls. That's requests coming off the network. If you're also thinking about the other direction, maybe I already have something on the system. There's something funky. We don't know. There's all kinds of outgoing firewalls that you can apply. Those are a little more difficult to tune, but if it's a FileMaker server, there's not going to, there will be more than you're expecting as far as outgoing traffic goes, but it's a tractable problem. And if you sit there and look at it, you can figure out what needs to be allowed, allow those things, and leave everything else default blocked. Yep.
Yeah, so Margaret's making notes here, and I want to make sure she gets it. So the 2 ports or 3 ports you're really going to need to poke the holes through the firewall for the FileMaker server is port 80,
443, and 5003.
and 5003. So there are 3 numbers there. So 80, 443, and then 5003.
Yeah, you can't really get away from that. If you expect to use Pro and Go basically remotely, that's
But if you're only if people are only accessing it from the company within the company, then
then you may have that thing completely blocked off. From not accessible. We'll say off the VPN. Be a good way to put it. Something like that. We have a couple customers that are like that as well. So.
All right, cool. So what about the idea of restricting IPs? Because I think that's a really big one, a really good tool.
Yeah. So and we do that. The biggest thing that I tell people, is a FileMaker server's job is to do FileMaker. So non-FileMaker access on the FileMaker server should basically always be restricted in some way. One of the things that we do, and it's literally to avoid customers opening up remote desktop to the entire internet because they are frustrated because they can't get into their own server. And fair, right? You're like, why can't it's mine? Why can't I get in? But to avoid that, one of the offers that we do is when we turn over the servers, and these are Amazon, but you can do this with your own network hardware. We limit it basically to RCC IPs, and there's only a couple of them actually. And then we say, and it's true, if someone asks me to put their IP in the firewall so that they're allowed in, I will do that for free. Anytime during business hours, there's no charge associated with that at all, period. And the reason that I do that is because it makes it free for them to ask me to do it for them. And what that means is they will not go and try and figure out how to open it themselves, get frustrated because they're unable to do so because honestly, Amazon's interface is not that friendly, and then follow somebody's guide online for how to open it up to the whole internet. That means the Russians and Chinese or whoever you're concerned about can get into your server too. Of the things that need to be available on the server, which is FileMaker Server, reasonably secure, and the 2 web ports, probably also reasonably secure, maybe not perfectly, but pretty good. 8443. That's IIS on Windows, and that's Apache on Linux. If you're, again, previous advice, if you're applying your updates to those things, the risk, while not zero, is minimal. And so those are often left open to the entire internet. Remote desktop doesn't need to be, period. So, and should not be in general. You should be limiting that in some way. There are some creative, we'll call them VPNs, think of it that way. There's some creative solutions there where you can have remote desktop literally not accessible over the internet, but still you're able to get in. So you can explore solutions like that. That would apply more toward situations where you have an internal IT department where someone's going to be managing that. I actually deployed one of those solutions for a customer because he goes to trade shows all the time, and he wanted to be able to remote desktop into a server all the time from airport and hotel Wi-Fi. And I was like, I'm not opening that up, sir. We're not doing that. And I explained to him why it was a terrible idea. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, what else can we do here? And I was like, let me try this thing. And this was something I played around with Richard. I'm talking about ZeroTier. And so you can make a virtual network basically between your computer and we'll say the FileMaker server, the remote computer. And that lets you log in even though the firewall doesn't allow it, strictly speaking. There's a lot of different options like that, but
let me hit this real quick. So I know we're kind of starting to run time down, but so what we have done at RCC, let's give Jacob a chance to drink and have a moment and a snack and whatever, is there's a product called ZeroTier, which at the level I use it, which is pretty extensively, it's free. And what it allows you to do is you install something on your Mac or Windows computers, to a point, I guess, mobile devices too. And what you go through a process of installing the software, and then you have an account with ZeroTier, and you give it a little code. And effectively, it's going to bless these machines that you have. It's a free up to 50 machines, I believe is a number. And I have 20 different machines set up. And it allows me to, even though those machines are not available on the internet, they're connected, but there's a firewall blocking them, etc. These machines, if you install the software in there, they poke a hole through the firewall without the, with bypassing the firewall, but it's limited to you and your access of your little group. Like, so if I have 50 computers, these 50 computers can talk to each other. And it's simple to set up, very simple. I love it. Very Mac friendly. We could do a session and talk about this because it's a free tool. It solves a lot of security issues. I had a lot of static IP addresses at RCC. I just turned them all in to the internet companies. I don't need them anymore. I literally turned them in and said goodbye, because this software, it's more secure. If someone tries to get into that machine because they know it's there, unless they install the software with your credentials and then you also go to the website and bless them as an approved thing, they can't get in. So it's really, the person has to get your laptop and your credentials on your laptop and then take those to Russia or wherever the hell they're hanging out, and then use those.
There is a key stored on each machine, basically. So yeah, if you took that key somewhere else, it's like anything else. You steal the keys, you have the house. Okay, but
Margaret, can you bring up ZeroTier on your website? It's called Xero.
Yes, I just saw Jacob spell it.
ZeroTier.
Yep.
Right. So.
I really like them. I've met the CEO and stuff like that, so I'm not, I don't endorse it, but I have used it in my personal life for many years. And
I endorse it.
Okay, Richard endorses it.
Unpaid
Cool.
endorsement.
Cool.
Okay, so this
it's good stuff. It is much broader than what we're talking about. The very basic usage here is, making a little virtual network between random computers all over the internet. If you Google around about that, there was like an IBM demo day that somebody did recently, where they were showing virtual networks run over ZeroTier over what's the SpaceX satellite?
It's their Starlink.
Starlink, yeah. So they have bobs deployed out in the field. I don't know what the bobs were, but those bobs have ZeroTier on them, and then they have a virtual network that runs within the ZeroTier bubble itself, to allow 100% fully secure software updates to those things. We'll call it that those bobs are in unfavorable network conditions. I'm not going to say any more
because
details
it's a satellite.
about it,
Remember, Starlink is a satellite linking, and we can talk about that. I read a Defense Department update on that the other day.
Yep.
He just launched 49 objects into space, and they didn't check the space weather in advance, and 40 of them
blew 40 of them up. Yep.
Blew 40. You read that story? Did you read the technical background on that?
Yeah, it was really cool. It the magnetic surge made the Earth's atmosphere too thick, and they couldn't raise themselves to their appropriate level.
And they have these little electric thrusters that fire, and somehow, I don't know if they run out of thrust doing that, but
and so they tried to make them flat like a sheet of paper so that they minimal drag. They tried all the well, let's try and we'll hold on and see if we can do that, and they couldn't do it long enough to keep them. And because they launch them so low, which is the point, that's intentional, so that they can deorbit.
It goes back to space shuttles and everything else. If you can launch something in low orbit, then you don't have to go as high. You can launch more of them. It's cheaper. But then they programmed each of these little, and so the Starlink is this internet thing, and each one of them goes. It's like a little, like a little compressed air, but it's an electronic thruster based on krypton. I have no idea what kind of Star Trek that is, and they elevate themselves to a geosynchronous orbit on their own. But there was a magnetic storm which changed the atmosphere, which made the atmosphere slightly thicker, and they couldn't cut through it. And so 9 of them escaped death, and the other 40 they were pulled in and burned up on reentry. Anything else we have on this topic besides we're off on electronic krypton thrusters for Starlink?
And weird VPN solutions. There's some other stuff. So like the some of the general takeaways from like the ransomware thing too, you should just go watch them, because also there's some awesome demos actually in those 2 or 3 sessions there. But for example, right, I've talked about, all right, we're taking the logs off, we're collecting logs, we're doing this stuff, we're looking at the logs. Please look at the logs. That's how you can't know your baseline if you're not staring at the things occasionally. Also, if your business is small enough, for example, you can log all the logins and logouts, successful or failure. Some businesses, you can't log all this, or you can log, but you can't look at all the successes. It'd be too many, right? And you need to be looking at the failures. Okay, but if you have one server and there's not that many people involved, et cetera, some of this stuff is tractable where you can actually look at we'll say the unfiltered fire hose of some of this stuff and have a really good idea of like what the business is doing. What is the heartbeat of your company? People come in and they log into their FileMaker at 9 a.m. and they start doing whatever it is that they do. And you can see that in your logs, right? Because they'll do something and their FileMaker will fire up, they'll log in. If they have an FMSP-based solution, for example, and you haven't taken this out, it'll do a PSOS test when it first launches. So you can see that every day, right? Every time somebody opens it, or look at the global log table if you have an FMSP solution, stuff like that.
And then I don't know if we have an interest in us going through the ZeroTier stuff. It's interesting.
People have been saying they've been interested.
Yeah, it'd be a different stream, but yeah, we can demo it.
Yeah, we can't do it today, but yeah.
Also,
okay, Ken just gave us the buzzer.
Got the buzzer. All right, cool.
We got one.
Yeah, you guys might like it. Again, it is a paid product, but if you have under 50 things,
nodes, which I do,
computers, right, whatever, it's free. Over 50, your cap goes to 500, which is pretty approachable. And then the third tier is like the call us.
Right.
It's the call us price. That specific thing is much bigger than just like the little VPN demo that we can show off or whatever. It has software libraries and stuff. There was what did they talk about? There's an Internet of Things company that does like security cameras, right? You put them at your house or on your walls, looking at your garage and stuff. And the camera is joined to a ZeroTier network, and then the app on the phone, I don't mean that there is a program running on the phone that is ZeroTier, which is what our computers have. There is a software library so that literally the Android app itself can join as a node on the ZeroTier network and talk directly to the camera in a secure fashion.
Yes.
And that's really, that's crazy to me. That's awesome. So I just say that to say it's a way broader and more useful tool even than we would demo. And so it may be interesting to our viewers for other reasons.
For example, I set up my own security cameras in various offices and things I have. Listen, I just tell you what we use and what Jacob uses. Jacob's been nipping at me to do this for 10 months, 12 months. I finally got off my the other day and went, this is amazing. Right. And it's like
I made him sit down. It was, I don't know, I don't even know what two it was, but I made him sit down and do like 2 computers, just demo it, right? Like get it set up. You can log into this one thing. And
it changes how I think about creating my own little
and once you teach someone that far, once they know that, they can go and apply it to any other computer that they're in. And so he can go, whatever, he's got all his other computers, security machines, all this stuff set up. And I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't care.
No.
He can manage it himself. Perfect. So,
I do. Yeah, I get a static address and all this other stuff. But when you pay for static address, it's a lot of money. And then you have security and people trying to get into it. Now it's behind multiple layers of deflector shields, like on a Starship, run around the Starship with no shields up. How good has that ever worked out on a TV show? Right? So, no bueno. Hey, thank you everyone for being here. We greatly appreciate it. If you have questions or comments, seriously, we're always scheduling things in the future. I'm going to be out in Dallas for a couple of weeks coming up, and but everything will still, the show goes on no matter where I'm at. So feel free to shoot us an email to support@RC Consulting. We'll make sure that we take your ideas into account. Jacob will talk to the CEO of ZeroTier and see if they want to make an appearance. Who knows?
But yes, I collect ideas like a madwoman, so please give me them so I can do things.
Yeah, Dana collects ideas like she collects cats. So yeah, there we go. All right. See ya. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.